So this morning, this is definitely the first time I'm telling this story. This morning, I was looking at the website for the intermediate school I went to. So I was like 12, 11 to 13 or something. Um, 12 to 13, I don't know. But like there's this page on the website for all of these videos that have been made like with students or for students or whatever. And I was going back and looking at a video that I'm in when I'm a tiny baby person, um, who is a different kind of ethnically vague than I am now. But anyway, that's a story for another time. Um, while I was looking at all this stuff, I found a video from 2019 that's like a 4 minute or maybe 4.5 minute animated music video, 2D animation, just like I do, and the same software that I use, and it's really damn good. Like the cinematography and directing choices are really good. The story's well told and engaging, even though there's no dialogue. The animation itself is like ridiculously good for no reason. The animals move like animals. It's crazy. I gotta like find a way to reach out to this kid and be like, hey, work with me one day or now. Well, I can't do it now because then it's like a weird child labor thing. But in a few years, dude, come join my game studio. We're making games in traditional 2D animation that look like the shit you're making now. As a baby, um, like I'm teaching an animation course for like late teenagers, early adults right now, and like there's nothing I could teach this 12-year-old. I'll just be like, do more of this. So yeah, my mind is just a bit blown, and I want to steal them. I want to steal their talent.
I don't know about you, Lunch, but this kind of sounds like the plot to an anime.
It
And welcome back to Bros in a Landfill. This is the anime episode starring
Psych.
Lunchbillion.
Hey everybody.
so, hey, so it's the anime spring 2021 anime seasons. We got a lot of anime. We don't have time. Rules are simple. All new anime. No sequels. Well, like no problem. So it's not like season two. It's a like new generations of stuff is a whole nother story. But yeah.
It has to be a
Speaking of
new
which, I'm
series.
yep. I'm not covering everything. I'm already covering a lot. This is kind of like a powerhouse round. We'll see what we, we talk about. We're gonna probably waste a lot of your time, but we don't care. It's anime time, and it's always time for anime time. Lunch, I sent you the first one. Let's go.
Well, okay, all right. Sorry, I got distracted watching this amazing video made by a tiny baby. Cardfight, Vanguard, overdress. That is not where I was expecting that title to go, but I love it. You want me to read the synopsis?
Yeah. Your synopsis, boy.
All right, synopsis boy, go. Yu is a boy living in Kanazawa, Kaga province. He is 15 years old and in his third year of junior high school. He has the ability to sense the feelings of others, but he's troubled by the fact that he cannot say no when asked.
Oh God.
That is phrasing. One day, Yu could no longer stand going along with his sister's hobby, so he ran away from home. The one who saves him is Megumi Okura. Megumi invites Yu to a nighttime amusement park called Wonder Hill where her friends hang out. At the amusement park, Yu meets Megumi, Zakusa Ishikame, and Tomari Seto, members of Team Blackout, a group that meets to play Vanguard every night. Okay. Tonight, a serious fight for the team's flag will take place. Blackout's leader, Danji Momoyama, and the mysterious and powerful fighter, Tuya Ebata. As Yu stares at them, the card fight is soon eroded into a world of images. This is how Yu encounters Vanguard, a world he has never seen before, and is drawn in by its powerful allure, making new friends along the way. Huh.
I think I've told you I like anime where people play games. Like I'm a big Yu-Gi-Oh anime nerd and
Wait,
all
can,
that
can I just
jazz.
try and like tell you what I think the show is about?
Okay, yeah, go for it.
There's a 15-year-old boy who's has the power of being empathetic, and doesn't know how to say no to things.
Mhm.
He runs away from home because he's socially awkward somehow.
Well, I mean,
Um,
yeah,
he
I'll
meets
explain
like
specifically, I guess.
20 people at an amusement park who hide there every night to play card games, but it's a magic card game.
Close. So he runs away because his sisters like to dress him up. Um,
Okay.
so it's one of those family dynamics where it's the older sisters like to dress up their little brother. Um,
And he's like, I don't like
and
dressing
the
up.
yeah, he doesn't like dressing up. And it's not magic. So the thing that Vanguard kind of does with its anime is all like where Yu-Gi-Oh does holograms and some card games do like magic. Like We Cross does like alternate dimension, like this. Like you go into this weird alternate dimension where magic happens.
Mhm.
Or if you're talking about the new Diva version, it's VR MMO of like VR battles or whatever. No, Vanguard. Now I haven't seen every Vanguard. I've seen a bit of the first season. This is the first one that's like really captivated me. Um, it's kind of just all imagination. Like
Okay. So and
like
it's fantastical in a books can take you anywhere kind of way.
yeah, kind of like and like I kind of like just like in reality, like the two like people dueling are standing around a table acting really dramatic
Okay,
and
okay.
stuff.
That's cute.
But the animators do animate like the monsters attacking and stuff like at time like during dramatic moments. And there's a really like I want to like just like shout like there's like a really good like moment like as a duel wraps up, like where it's just pure animation blitz. A lot of these card game anime like to go kind of lazy. Yu-Gi-Oh's gone very CG with this animation, which
Hmm.
isn't necessarily lazy by itself because CG is difficult by all definitions. But like this, there is real Sakuga in the fights that were occurring
Okay,
on the
give
fight
me
in this
that
episode.
Sakuga, man. I don't want to like get too distracted on a side tangent because there's so
Yeah,
much to get through. But
yeah.
I was catching up on My Hero Academia yesterday, and I finally hit the episode that they actually put the money in, and like my mind was blown for like 20 minutes
Yeah,
straight. I was like, "What the fuck? It's so cool!"
I know.
It's been a while since I've seen something like that because like I don't know, I think the last several episodes of anime I've watched have just been like really conservative. So just seeing like some really goddamn cool action animation, it was so sick. So
Yeah, no, it's always a good feeling to say like Hero Academia like really knows how to blow budget when they want to.
that's how it works though. It's like, okay, here's the cool episode. Bam. Though I
Yeah,
think
well, they
Naruto was a bit like that too. Though
oh yeah,
yeah.
oh Boruto is like oh my gosh, Boruto like most of the time Boruto is kind of like flat colors, like people talking, people jumping around. But when they do those big bad fights, holy
It's on
shit.
or off, right? Like
Yeah, well, it's the same thing with the openings. Like for the large part, most of the Boruto openings have fantastic Sakuga in them. Like it's
yeah.
some of the best. Like sometimes it'll be the best Sakuga in the episode, except when it's the finale. Like I don't. If you haven't watched any Boruto, please go check out the Boruto openings. There were
Okay.
some breathtaking feats of animation. Not I mean not all of them. I'm specifically looking at you. Um, third opening with
Send
your
me the coolest OPs cuz like I haven't looked into Boruto really because
yeah.
I don't know. I didn't finish the original Naruto, so like
Yeah,
I have
yeah.
no idea what's
I
going
never
on.
I didn't finish the original Naruto. For me, like I finished the Naruto story by playing the alternate ninja games.
Okay, but so you've seen the
Um
story in a sense.
yeah, I've seen this one, but like not like it was just like kind of like a abridged version of it.
Yeah. Well, still
Um
something.
yeah, yeah.
Okay. Oh
Um
man, this is getting way too
yeah,
distracted. But
yeah, let's move on to the next one.
I so badly want to ask about Boruto.
Yeah, no, it's okay. No,
Is it good? Because like people
as I
are
said
like, I know a lot of people who love Naruto and they're like,
Boruto
you know
is
what, fuck
different.
Boruto, and it feels
Boruto
like a very like I don't like how it feels like very TikTok and Fortnite are cringe because they're not my thing kind of
Yeah, no, Boruto is
reaction.
very different than Naruto. It's like
Really?
where Naruto takes place to like in this age of war. Boruto takes place in this age of peace after the like Naruto and friends basically stopped all war. Like, and
Nice.
now Boruto and friends like are in a world where there's no like where it's peaceful, but there's still bad actors trying to cause war.
Right.
So, um, so a lot of the show is actually very slow and almost slice of lifey, especially at the beginning when Boruto's learning about stuff. But because of that, Boruto ends up being a lot more of a character-driven show rather than a shonen action shonen action-driven
That's
show.
interesting.
Now, I
Interesting.
now as the show goes on, it does pick up, but the thing I like about Boruto is Boruto gets a lot more character development than Naruto does because there's more time just to focus on Boruto and his struggles, where Naruto's normally just growing through just whatever I guess Naruto kind of like has the stereotypical shonen protagonist.
Well, it's very like straight
Growth.
into like trial by fire, I think. Like
Yeah.
like and that's a thing that bothers me a bit about My Hero Academia as well, is that like there's always the most ridiculously important thing happening all the time, and so like
Hmm.
he doesn't just get to like be a person for a while. It's like all like
Hmm.
battle trauma. I guess I have
Um,
the sports festival arc, or sorry, the
yeah,
music festival arc, but um, yeah, that maybe I would like Boruto more then, in a
yeah,
way, especially if it's
and
got some good
and
Sakuga. But
yeah. Now,
yeah,
the thing the only real downside to Boruto is that because the way that they're doing the production of the anime and the manga takes place after a certain point of the anime. Like, so the manga was out first, and it takes like and they started the anime much earlier in the story than the manga starts.
okay.
So,
So the
but the
anime
manga
covers
is
more ground and
the
starts
yeah, the anime
earlier.
covers more ground. But the manga is also a monthly release, so that means the story is coming out much slower.
Hmm.
Like there's a lot less progression in the manga. However, because the anime is a weekly release, it causes there to feel like there's a lot more wasted time in the anime, which causes a lot of episodes to feel hit or miss.
Hmm. Hmm. I'm
Um,
finding like
but
man, I've not succeeded in not distracting this,
yeah, no,
but
it's
like
fine. But
I'm finding that like more and more that a weekly, maybe it's because we're living in like a Netflix era now, but like the
yeah,
weekly format for watching a show is so obnoxious, but especially for anime,
yes.
where anime already pads out a lot of its runtime. And it's like, how many minutes of new
Mhm.
content am I really gonna get? And then it's like, this is what we're gonna spend it on. I'm
Yeah,
wondering if the
but
real meta is to just wait until the whole show's out.
yeah. I would definitely say that, but the nice thing about like Boruto, like the way that Boruto's structured, and I think they definitely considered this when they were preparing it, is that it feels like just a very comfy show at time, like a lot of the time.
Hmm.
Like it could feel slow. It's a very easy show just to hop in every week and just watch an episode. I don't think it's necessarily the easiest show to binge watch.
Okay.
Like
So in this
you can binge
case,
watch.
weekly's okay.
It's like there are certain arcs which I would say are probably better to binge watch than others. Like especially when you're dealing with like main story. This is like we have like this tight like 20 episode arc that is all about the story happening. And it's like you just kind of want to see what happens. But then other times it's like it's a one off almost like filler slice of life. But because most of the show is already filler, it doesn't feel like it's any more filler than anything else.
Right, your expectations are already set, like to expect that kind of thing, and
Yeah,
so
where like when you're watching,
yeah,
yeah, like when you're watching Naruto, it's like because most of Naruto's story are these long padded out arcs, like not padded, like these just long tight arcs. Like when you have filler, it feels obnoxious. Like everything feels a
yeah,
little
it,
bit more.
it feels like a sidestep from what the show's meant to be doing.
Yeah, where because the show Boruto starts off kind of with filler and use it like weaves in filler to give backstory and give character development to the support characters that don't get the focus in the manga chapters. So the whole cast ends up feeling a lot more developed.
Man, I'm gonna cut off my questions about anime for now. We have to go through at least one more anime. Send me one more. Oh, you've got
Yeah, I
me
already
one.
sent you one.
Okay,
It,
all
it
right.
was
I was about to open up another can of worms, but let's move forward. Fumetsu no Anata e, or To Your Eternity. It A mysterious immortal being is sent to the earth with no emotions or identity. However, it is able to take the shape of those around that have a strong impetus. At first, it is a sphere. Then, it imitates the form of a rock. As the temperature drops and snow falls atop the moss, it inherits the moss. When an injured lone wolf comes limping by and lays down to die, it takes on the form of the animal. Finally, it gains consciousness and begins to traverse the empty tundra until it meets a boy. The boy lives alone in a ghost town, which the adults abandoned long ago in search of the paradise said to exist far beyond the endless sea of the white tundra. However, their efforts were for naught, and now the boy is in a critical state. Acquiring the form of the boy, it sets off on a never-ending journey in search of new experiences, places, and people. Wait, so is that boy just gonna die in the snow?
I would say definitely watch. This is one of those drama shows where, um, like I don't really want to give too much. I've already watched the first episode, and the summary kind of like goes through like just kind of the plot of the first episode at the same time. But it's one of those shows that the directing, like, it's kind of directed like you know what's going to happen just by like the tone that's being set. Like you like as soon as like you start seeing this stuff, like this is what's going to end up happening. It kind of there's like this feeling of inevitableness.
Yeah.
But it's what's kind of like the driving force of the story is this mysterious immortal being sent down by some god creature or god thing, and kind of like you're kind of like seeing things from its perspective as it's learning about like like learning about struggle, emotion, and whatnot. As like it starts off like living for like hundreds of years as a rock, and then like as moss, and
Right,
then
of course.
eventually the wolf. And it's the little details and stuff, and like it's this hope that this boy has. Like you're going through this journey of like this boy having all this hope that he's gonna go find this place and be with his own family, and just watching like him try and try so hard to get there, like deluding himself that he will be able to find this place. And then at the very end, it's like in a way at the very end he kind of finds what he was looking for, and I guess I feel like this is a very, just in general, very interesting way to set up the sort of there's a certain sort of drama where it's like, oh, this is the story of the week. Like this is the sad, hopeful. This is like slice of like almost like slice of life. Like legit. I guess like legitimately. Like this is life. This is like someone's life.
Yeah.
Of having like some sort of like outsider's perspective into these other people's lives, their struggles, and it like, and I think having this like creature that almost has like no bias. He's just like this being that
Observes.
can just observe but interact. Like because he takes the form of the wolf, he's like an active part in the story, but he doesn't really know what's going on. And he ends up kind of forming a bond with the boy, like in place of the wolf, like the wolf that passed. And I think what makes this drama like really work is how the information is revealed over time. It doesn't just drop everything on you at once. It kind of leaves you to just like it never fully spells things out for you. Like it just gives you enough.
It sounds
to, like,
quite
put it
like
together.
atmospheric and weighty.
Yeah.
in a
Oh
way.
yeah, definitely.
No, that sounds quite interesting and like pretty restraint. Like there's restraint
Oh,
shown
yeah.
for an anime,
Like,
where it's just willing to tell
like
its story and probably quietly.
yeah,
Like the just reading the synopsis like felt quite evocative.
yeah.
I don't know. That's pretty interesting.
Yeah, I could have easily seen this being cry porn, and I'm kind of over cry porn, but
Right.
like, it's like I guess I've used this some example when I was talking with Helen about like storytelling and evoking emotions. Storytelling is essentially a magic trick to evoke emotions from us. It's to prey on, like, not necessarily prey on, but to pull from our past experiences, past struggles, and pull from our empathy
Yeah.
to evoke emotion and thought within us. But like any magic trick, like the idea, like once you see the man behind the curtain, and once you're aware of the tools being used, it can be very, very hard to feel that sense of wonderment or sense of trick.
Hmm.
However, there's also that level of kind of like pen, like when you're someone who's seen so much media, like you kind of become that Penn and Teller fool me.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, yeah, it's like sometimes Penn and Teller, they're like, oh my god, I don't know what just happened. Um, and like you don't know why, it's just invoking these emotions from you. Sometimes it's like, oh, yeah, we did that before. This is actually kind of an old trick. We're not really that impressed. Or sometimes like, we know you do that, and we're fucking impressed that you did that. God damn.
Hmm.
And that's kind of the feeling I get for this one. It's like it evoked emotions from me, despite the fact that I knew exactly everything it was doing, and I didn't feel like I was being cheated.
Right. You can
Like,
see the buttons being pushed, but yeah, it wasn't like a cheap, um, I guess, manipulation. It felt
it didn't.
genuine. Because yeah, I think something
It
conventional can still, like, if it feels genuine, then it'll still work. It's like how, like, any cliche can be done really well, even if you've seen it before. But I think like, you can't really fake being earnest at a certain point, for someone like you, who's seen a lot of the tricks already.
yeah.
Yeah,
I'm passing along the next anime.
sure. Godzilla Singular Point. This series features an original story which depicts the young geniuses Mei Kamino, a female researcher, and Yun Arikawa, a male engineer, as they take on an unprecedented threat with their companions. When danger comes up from the depths, only young geniuses Mei, Yun, and their team can face the threat in Godzilla Singular Point. I feel like I didn't learn anything. Godzilla's
It's a
in it.
Godzilla anime. It's a Godzilla. Like honestly, from the first episode, like I didn't really learn much. Um, either. There's a bit of a twist at the end. I'm not entirely sure what it means. Um, but what I will say is it's very weird seeing a Godzilla anime, especially one that's seems so well produced.
Godzilla seems like a
Um,
being who's meant to terrorize, like, real life people. Even though he himself is a
yeah,
ridiculous
and
fantasy beast, like, it seems like part of the weird in a weird way, part of the image of Godzilla is like the realism, and that, like, the city looks real, and it's
yeah.
like he is the crazy thing
What
in
gets me,
a real world. I don't
no,
know.
but
I
what
don't
really
know
gets
much about
what gets
Godzilla,
me,
but that's just what it
yeah,
feels
no, but
like.
yeah, but what gets me too is the whole mecha side of it, because like there's a mecha tag on this. There's a character, like there's a group of characters like building a mech in the show. Like now, granted, it looks kind of like it's an impressive build, but it looks like the sort of like shitty nerd sort of thing someone builds, not like, oh, this is something that can like take on monsters actually.
Hmm.
Um, yeah. But the production's good. It's got a it's got some very creepy vibes going on. I was definitely unsettled multiple times watching it, which I think is good.
I think
Like
it's
for like
impressive,
I think
especially for, like, a such a pop culture icon as Godzilla. Like I was talking to a friend a while ago about how, um when we watched Alien for the first time, it was kind of impossible for us to see it like the original audience would have, because, like, although we hadn't seen Alien before, we had seen the Alien in multiple different spin-offs, and like, just as part of absorbed it through pop cultural osmosis. Um, so, like, we wouldn't be able to see it exactly for the first time, and yet watching Alien is still pretty tense and unsettling. It's not exactly the same, but it's a testament to how well the atmosphere of that movie is set that even having seen what the monster looks like, it's still scary. So like if this thing can do something similar with Godzilla, which is like almost like a meme monster, and with anime characters, I mean that's pretty
Yeah.
cool.
Well, I actually think that's one of the things that like maybe lends its like lends to the anime medium is that it can do some things more with it like well it can do some more things with Godzilla than what the live action movies can do in terms of setting tone because like let's be entirely real. There like even with the high like I mean so like with the Hollywood CG Godzilla, it still looked pretty fucking goofy just stomping around a city.
Hmm.
Like
So like
there's
you're saying
certain
there's a smaller gap between the people and Godzilla when it's all animated?
yeah, I would definitely say that. The other thing I think I wanted to say too is that one of the interesting things about this um like I this is I think the main reason why I wanted to bring this up there is a CG monster like I want to say CG just because the frame rate and the movements of the monster wouldn't make sense for it to not be CG.
Mm-hmm.
But the way that everything is very stylized, I actually like I actually couldn't tell if it was actually CG or just like super like they just did something stylish with a higher frame rate monster than the rest of the show.
Hmm.
Like that was some of like the best CG I have seen like
It
in
is
an
nice when CG can
anime.
actually blend into the rest of production because I feel like it usually doesn't. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
or it's really obvious when it doesn't. Rather, thinking
Yeah.
about there was some CG when I was watching My Hero Academia yesterday, but it was done well enough that and tastefully enough that it worked.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah. Yeah, but when you're getting into like I think a lot of it can get away with just like it within just certain shots or whatever. But like having like like having an organic being extends like using it like being on the screen extends for extended period of time, interacting with the 2D characters
hmm.
and not looking. As I said, the only thing that made it really look out of place was it being a higher frame rate and it like having more fluid motion than anything else on the screen.
Interesting.
Which in a way almost I think it definitely added to that eerie element of like this almost like
It's a bit otherworldly,
um
yeah. Yeah, that's weird. 'Cause
yeah
sometimes you
well
can, like you'll vary the frame rate of different things on the screen for effect, and like it is a valid artistic choice as long as it doesn't
yeah
like step outside of this is weird enough to take you out of it. But it sounds like it wasn't.
yeah,
So cool.
yeah but I actually think that the high frame rate actually adds into that eerie thing I was talking with you about earlier in the conversation. I think if it was just 2D in the same frame rate, I don't think it would have been as creepy. Like it wouldn't have been as
Hmm.
jarring. It wouldn't have been as threatening.
Yeah, it sounds like it was
But like
probably a purposeful choice then.
yeah, oh yeah. Like that's one of the few times I'd say like the CG on that. Now, could the CG could have it been better? Probably, but like given standards in anime, like I will definitely give that a prop.
We'll take it. Should we move on?
Yep. Yep.
We should put on timestamps on these episodes.
No, I do put timestamps on
Oh,
the
sick.
anime episodes.
Sick, sick, sick. All right. Iji Ranaide Nagatoro-san. I have no idea if I feel like that was at least 30% correct how to pronounce that. Um,
Yeah, whatever.
high schooler Hayase Nagatoro loves to spend her free time doing one thing, and that is to bully her senpai. After Nagatoro and her friends stumble upon the aspiring artist's drawings, they find enjoyment in mercilessly bullying the timid senpai. Oh. Nagatoro resolves to continue her cruel game and visits him daily so that she can force Senpai into doing whatever interests her at the time, especially if it makes him uncomfortable. Slightly aroused by and somewhat fearful of Nagatoro, Senpai is constantly roped into her antics as his interests, hobbies, appearance, and even personality are used against him as she entertains herself at his expense. As time goes on, Senpai realizes that he doesn't dislike Nagatoro's presence, and the two of them develop an uneasy friendship as one patiently puts up with the antics of the other. Okay.
Yeah.
Uh,
From friends that I've like friends and people I've heard talk about the manga of this, like uh, apparently bully isn't the right word. I will say watching from the like I don't know how it comes off in the manga, but definitely in the anime, some of it definitely comes off as very intense. I don't know if
hmm.
that softens over time.
It's tricky because like in anime everything is hyper exaggerated and
Oh yeah,
characters will
especially with the voice acting.
yeah, voice acting especially. So there's probably some things that come off a bit differently in text or in more subdued drawings. But then like
Hmm.
when you put it out there in a video, it's like, oh, she does love bullying him.
Yeah,
um
like and 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 I will say, granted, this was the first episode when they just met. Like I I will leave full judgment on this until like as the story goes on, see if she does like like loosen up or whatever. I don't know if loosen. I don't think I want to say loosen up. I want to say lighten up.
yeah, well, it
But
seems like over time like there's the story is that relationship becoming less completely antagonistic and more
yeah,
strangely friendly.
yeah, because I know the obvious worry is that this definitely comes off as what could form into a very toxic relationship.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, I definitely
but
like I don't know if I trust like anime in general to not make this just weird. Or like or just kind of I guess problematic is a word where it's like,
yeah,
he's really taking a lot. Like this description is like pretty it sounds like it's kind of meant to be cute, but it sounds not that cute.
yeah.
And I feel like it would really come down to a premise like this. I think walks a fine line.
Oh yeah. I would. There were multiple times in that first episode that I felt very uneasy, but like very uncomfortable. But nothing crossed the line at that point where I'm like, yeah, no, this is just not okay. Um, like I mean, it's not okay. Let me phrase. Like it was clear that her behavior clearly is not okay, but
But it's also a
and
story, right? So it's like maybe
yeah,
it's
like yeah,
how is the audience supposed to react to it? I guess is part because like
yeah, like
sometimes a character is doing something problematic, but you know that the story is
yeah.
meant to be highlighting a flaw of theirs. Well, like this show seems like it's maybe reveling in that thing that's making you uncomfortable. And
Yeah, and I will say at the very least, because it's giving off that uncomfortable vibes, I don't necessarily think it's glorifying her behavior. Um, but I don't, as I said, I don't know how that continues on. But also, it almost in some way, it almost feels like some sort of like masochist self-insert
I honestly
sort of
like
thing.
that's I want to say that right away reading that description that
Yeah,
like what I read this and I'm like this feels like someone's particular I, am I allowed to use the word fetish on our
yeah, just go
show?
for it.
Cuz like it definitely seems a bit fetishistic or it's
Oh yeah, definitely.
like yeah, like degrade me or whatever. And like it's one thing if that's that like the writer is like into that dynamic but like they're if you write it in a really hyper extreme way that isn't rooted in any like mutual understanding that like he likes it, then it's like, oh, this
Yeah,
is just kind of
yeah,
I don't
yeah.
know. And also like how old are they? Like fucking they look like
I
at
think they were
best like
either middle school or high school.
they look
I think
really
maybe early
young.
high school.
Okay, here's the
Yeah.
telling thing. I went to hit play on like the preview and it said this video is age restricted. I'm like Jesus.
Oh boy. Jesus. Oh yeah, there given the audience there is it definitely plays into some of the sexual dynamics between um high school boys and girls with again there's definitely explicit jokes, but it never like it's not like one of those anime where people are like doing the deed.
Yeah, it just like I don't know. I get um uncomfortable vibes about this
Yeah.
whole like
Yeah. Oh,
conception.
one of the things that like kind of baffled me watching is there's a scene where the main character is talking about well, like he's like, kind of like monologuing about how he was bullied a lot in the past.
Yeah.
Um, but then he's saying, "But this is different. Like I don't hate this."
Okay.
And
I'm
um,
I'm glad he is okay. I don't know. I just like I know I really wish I guess this kind of makes sense as a school kind of relationship, but like I kind of wish anime wasn't so obsessed with freaking kids. Like maybe if they were both adults, I'd feel less weird about. But then, like, adults probably wouldn't act like this. I don't know. I'm gonna give this the Lunchbillion yikes stamp.
not okay.
I'm gonna give it a big old yikes
It's
stamp. Bam.
where does it fall on the problematic scale compared to Muso Tensei from last season?
Remind me what Muso Tensei is. Oh, is that the one
We
where
talked about
he
this from
goes
a
back in time and he's like a baby and then he's like
well, no, it's not that he goes back in time. It's that he gets reincarnated into another world as a baby.
right, and then he's like, I'm an adult and I'm being yeah, okay, that's a bigger yikes. That's definitely a bigger yikes. Because
Yes.
that one is like an adult in the body of a kid being fucking weird with kids and adults. Uh,
Musho Tensei, like I messaged you a few times about that, but like, it's one of the most baffling things I've watched because on one hand, it's like there's actually a very compelling isekai story being told here, but at the same time, Jesus Christ, it's so fucking gross.
it's like it's weird how I mean I feel like there must be something real and like the author putting themselves into the work of like this kind of feeling like they
Mm-hmm.
missed their opportunity to, you know, their sexual opportunity or whatever. But like sometimes I wish they could like, you know, maybe you could go to a therapist for that thing and write a
Yeah.
manga for the other
Well,
thing and not make them the same
well,
thing. It's really
well,
totally
it's
weird.
like it's not like I don't even like mind like hypersexual content within my shows. It's
Yeah, but this
it really just goes it just goes back to like you have this middle-aged man in a kid's body, like,
look,
and then like even and then as a kid like sexualizing kids
I'll
his
say
age.
it. Yeah, God, I'll say it again. Like, stop if you're gonna handle like sexual themes in your story. Like, you don't have to do them with fucking children. Like,
Yeah.
and like,
Well, I
there's
think
these kids in Iji Ranaide Nagatoro-san. I can tell you they're too little. All right, at least
well,
for this
I will say
much.
there's a big difference between there's a big difference between high schoolers post puberty exploring sexuality and like
I mean,
people below the age of
post
10.
puberty is generous for these character designs, but yes, like high school is a more appropriate. I can't believe I even have to have any of this conversation. Let's move on to the next
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Kyokyu Shinka Shita Full Dive RPG ga Genjitsu Yori mo Kusoge Datara, also known as Full Dive, the ultimate next-gen full dive RPG, is even shittier than real life. That was amazing. Okay. In an unexpected turn of events, dull high school student Hiro Yuki obtains the full dive role-playing game Kiwame Quest. Created by the best of technology, the game claims to take reality to its extremes, from stunning graphics, NPC behaviors, to the scent of vegetation, and even the sensation of wind brushing against the skin. Everything was the result of an ultimate workmanship. Except, the game is a little too realistic and messy to clear. Kiwame Quest features over 10 quadrillion flags and reflects the player's real-life physical abilities in the game. Being hit in the game also hurts in real life, and slash wounds take days to heal. The only reward here is a sense of accomplishment. Conquer the most stressful game in history that can't be played casually. Okay, that's pretty funny.
Yeah, I enjoyed this far more than I expected I was
I'm
going
sorry, I
to.
bumped my
Especially
microphone.
like, oh, it's I'll clear it up. I don't care.
Okay.
It's one of those like the when I was watching this show, like it was a ride. So I first I for okay. So my first thing I look at the cover title. I see generic main character. I see a bunch of scantily clad well, like a bunch of just anime
Oh
girls.
damn, you're not wrong.
I
I'm
see
looking at the pictures. You're not wrong.
I see incredibly long light novel title with the words "Full Dive RPG,"
Yeah.
and I'm like, this is probably going to be a drop. It starts off kind of slow. Main character is just kind of like he's the former sports star who, for whatever reason, doesn't play sports anymore. He just plays VR MMOs, and he goes to buy the Final Fantasy XP, but because of bullies, he doesn't have enough money, and then goes to a shop, goes to a family-owned shop, or like a small shop or whatever, and to see if he can buy the game from cheap there. And the shopkeep is a big-tittied anime woman, like a big-tittied sexy anime woman,
Okay.
who basically scams him into buying another game with no refunds.
Okay.
And and she says, like, this is the greatest game ever, and she really wants him to play it, despite it being like I would say the most baffling thing is that, like, because the game, like the show starts off with exploiting that this game was so bad, like people like hated it so much that like it was critically panned, and actually made the technology of VR go backwards because people didn't want to have too much realism in their games.
Okay.
Which I think is a whole nother commentary on the state of video games.
I think this premise is really fun. Like the whole idea of it's like basically an isekai, but like it's not a fun fantasy world. It's like, well, as it says, even shittier than real life.
But like once he gets into the game, all like shit hits the fan, and it's absolutely hilarious. Like it's like he's, I don't like. In a way, it almost feels like it's like, I don't know if it's specifically knocking the genre of these full dive MMO sorts of games, because Sword Art Online definitely caused the drama, like caused the subgenre, and I would definitely say that Sword Art Online definitely does, like, while it glorifies the VR MMOs, it's not like shy to it doesn't necessarily shy away with how fucked they can be. I mean, for Pete's sake, Sword Art Online like has millions of people die. I don't know if I think it was like millions of people die within a VR MMO and stuff. It's its own
but
whole
like
can of worms.
It's in that case, it's
still
dramatic, but in an
glorifies it.
epic way, right?
Yeah,
well,
like
this seems
it
like
still glorifies.
in this show. It seems like it's not a cool way that it sucks. It's like,
Yeah,
it's kind of like there's no escape from having to be a person, or like even you. The idea that there's this amazing, completely realistic fantasy VR out there, and that like it's not an escape, is like pretty funny.
yeah. What's even funnier is just like it takes a step further to make the game like not just badly designed from the concept of it being a VR MMO. Like, oh, these are the problems that you would have in these sorts of hyper realistic VR MMOs. It goes the extra step of being a badly designed game in general. Like the people who are making the game didn't know how to design a good game.
Right.
So for example, like when he logs in, he's setting up his profile. Like the divine like in the like tutorial, divine character is like oh yes, your first quest is to go over to this city. So he's like, he wakes up, he's he finds himself like in a house with his childhood friend and her brother, and like he's like, oh, like he's like seeing like how cool this VR stuff. He's like, he eats an apple, like, oh my god, that actually tastes and feels like an apple in my mouth.
Yeah.
And he's like experiencing, it's like, oh, this is really cool. And he's like, oh yes, I have to go to this town in order to like I just have to go to this town because like obviously like their CPU, so he doesn't like care to explain the details.
Yeah.
But like he's like, I have to go to this town or whatever. And they're like, you can't leave this town, otherwise like it's like there are monsters all around, they will kill you, you are too weak, you can't leave this town. The town's guard will like arrest you and kill you if you try to leave this town. And it's like, and he's like, and he doesn't know what to do. It's like he's the only information he's told is he's supposed to go to this other town.
Right. It's like how, so the quest, it's like, it's too much like real life, and the quest design is terrible.
Yes.
That's pretty funny. It seems
Yeah.
like a fun show. Um,
Yeah. No.
I mean, it's very you know, big titty adventures, but I mean, I kind of these at least seem to be
It.
maybe not minors. Oh my
Yeah.
god, my standards are so
Does it matter if
crushingly
they're,
low.
doesn't matter if they're CPUs? No, I would
Oh,
also say it's like I don't mind it having the aesthetic of like those sorts of generic
right, because it
like
is kind of
shows.
like a parody or a play on those
It's like
shows.
it's like a black comedy of those genres. And without having the aesthetic of them, I don't necessarily know if the joke would work, would hit like
That's true. That's true. And also, I'll tell you one thing. Clicking on the preview video for this did not give me an age restriction. Um,
yeah.
so there you go. I don't know. That sounds like fun. Should we move on?
Yep. Just sent you the next one.
Okay. Mashiro no Oto, those snow white notes. Shamisen is a traditional Japanese musical instrument that looks similar to a guitar. Teenager Sawamura Setsu's grandfather, who raised him, and his older brother Wakana recently passed away. His grandfather was one of the greatest shamisen players, and the two siblings grew up listening to him play and learning to play the instrument. Since their grandfather's death, Setsu dropped out of high school, moved to Tokyo, and has been drifting, not knowing what to do besides play his shamisen. That's when his successful and rich mother, Umeko, storms into his life and tries to shape Setsu up. She enrolls him back into high school, but little does Setsu know that he is about to rediscover his passion for shamisen. Shamisen. The end.
Shamisens are pretty fucking cool. Um, gotta say.
This feels
Um,
like down to earth.
yeah. I would definitely agree with that. Though I would like so the summary is sort of weird because the first episode kind of isn't about that at all. Else, like he moves to like his grandfather passed. He moves to Tokyo. He ends up like he ends up getting taken in by when I say taken, I'm not talking like he like by a pinup model who lets him stay at her house well at her apartment while he does like the laundry. Like she's trying to get acting roles. Her boyfriend's a musician, but her boyfriend's an asshole, and all in the meanwhile the main character is like having this internal struggle of why his grandpa like well because his grandfather tells him he's not like to not play the shamisen anymore until he finds his own sound because the main character is too focused on trying to imitate his grandfather's sound instead of finding his own sound.
Got it.
So you kind of like, so a lot of the shows, like a lot of the weirdly enough, kind of like the B plot is the main character trying to figure out his like like it's I guess trying to find himself in a sense, like find the show like but it plays itself out kind of just like slow and like just kind of like your standard drama, like, well directed, well written. I was very enthralled. The shamisen performances in the show are fantastic.
That's good.
Like I would recommend watching it. I would recommend watching it just for the shamisen performances. Very satisfying. Like it manages that sort of like very satisfying first episode story. That like it's got me hooked just because the first episode was written so well. It ends off with some hooks that are like definitely there to set up the rest of the story, like that in a way aren't the most satisfying because obviously they're supposed to take like you don't want a satisfying conclusion to your first episode, otherwise why would you watch the rest of them?
Yeah.
But it kind of almost makes me wish that it was just this one episode with a satisfying conclusion because it was so well written.
I feel like I would rather this be a movie. Like
yeah, I was thinking the same thing.
This seems like a hard sell for a whole series. And I know it's only 12 episodes, but like just from reading synopsis, maybe I'm just like a spoiled like a chocolate eating, little kid who wants more fireballs in my shows, but like a guy is depressed. He goes to school and he plays the shamisen. It's like
Well,
it's
he's not
not
even going to school at that. He's not even
right.
going to
Like
school at that point in
he
the first
should go to
episode.
school and he doesn't. I don't know. Like I
Well,
get that's down to earth and like realistic and stuff, and that like it's probably got like a quiet emotional through line. But like just like as someone who hasn't watched the show at all, I'm not like super pulled in by that. And maybe that's
yeah.
fine. It's okay for
Wait,
some shows
but
to just be kind of about a mundane story, but I'm
mhm,
like, okay, he plays the shamisen, I
yeah.
guess.
I
Cool.
mean, I definitely wouldn't have picked it up if I wasn't just checking out every anime of the season.
Right. No, that there's
Like
probably a strength to
it's not the best.
for you to just try stuff like that.
Yeah. I would but I would definitely say at the very least the first episode's definitely worth the watch. The ending of the episode kind of has a moment where it kind of takes away the grounded feeling when his mother comes to get him. Um, like it kind of goes anime at the very end of the episode, and I was
No,
actually really upset.
that's funny.
Because the rest of the rest of the episode is like 10 out of 10. Like
Really?
I would like well at least for me like I definitely no lower than an 8.5. I would say
Right. So
8.5 is low
very
when
strong, very strong.
being very like I'd be satisfied saying the episode was a 9. Um but I like it's definitely like one like when it comes to like drama anime, it takes like we talked about this earlier with kind of like the magic trick stuff.
Hmm.
It takes a lot for me to really appreciate a drama anime, and I was really hooked on the story that was being told in that first episode. Like, and I was and it wasn't necessarily doing anything new in terms of like the story being told. It was just the way that it was executed. The characters were both, I would say, both believable, and the they felt anime but also down to earth at the same time. Like they straddled that line very well, where a lot of drama anime sometimes feel too down to earth, so ends up feeling too dry, too slow.
Yeah, yeah.
Too
But there was enough kind of flavor in this that
yeah.
yeah, because that was kind of my worry that the show would be like a bit too dry. But it sounds like it's actually quite
Mm.
powerful. It sounds
Yeah,
like
I would actually
actually like weirdly enough the most interesting of the shows that you've sent me so far. Um,
yeah. Like there like when he's doing his final performance, like you have like all these I don't think I've actually had this happen for me in a long time when I'm watching like these performance and like anime like musical performance stuff,
mhm.
where you have all the characters like just being captivated by this performance. Um and
Right there
I
with
was
them.
captivated too.
Yeah.
I was like right there, like I was just like I was like kind of like mouth open, just like feeling. I could like feel everything just like going on because it was just set up so well and portrayed so well. Um, and there's something about the shamisen performance because it was the only instrument being played, and the way that the shamisen sounds, but the way that it was being played as well, was just filled with so much emotion, and it was kind of like being taken on a ride.
That's kind of the cool thing, I guess, about a show with a slightly offbeat premise like that is that I could bring attention to probably an underappreciated art form.
Yeah.
Dude, if
Oh,
there was a slam poetry anime, I'd watch the shit out of it. Though that would be
no, you
hard to
should make it.
translate.
You should make a slam poetry anime.
I guess if anyone's gonna do it, it's gonna be me.
I would say
Maybe I
that
can get that 12-year-old to do my in betweens.
I could definitely see something like a Shaft like anime doing a slam poetry where where the slam poetry itself is being you're not actually necessarily just watching the person on stage. It's doing like extra artsy gimmicks around like the stage. Like it's kind of like taking you on that journey through
Sure.
the person saying it.
I think honestly, anime and slam poetry share a kind of self-importance. That like
That's a good. I agree with that.
like there might be more they might be more compatible with each other than you might think.
No, I definitely agree. I could say a whole anime just being done through slam poetry.
Seriously. Okay. Sentuin hakin shimasu Combatants will be dispatched. Always bring a gun to a sword fight. With world domination nearly in their grasp, the supreme leaders of the Kisaragi Corporation, an underground criminal group turned evil megacorp, have decided to try their hands at interstellar conquest. A quick dice roll nominates their chief operative, Combat Agent 6, to be the one to explore an alien planet. And the first thing he does when he gets there is change the sacred incantation for a holy ritual to be the most embarrassing thing he can think of. Wait. But evil deeds are business as usual for Kisaragi operatives, so if Six wants a promotion and a raise, he'll have to work much harder than that. For starters, he'll have to do something about the other group of villains on the planet, who are calling themselves the Demon Lord's Army or whatever. After all, this world doesn't need two evil organizations. I don't understand the thing I just read. He changes the sacred incantation for a holy ritual on an alien planet.
I will save the punchline for that for people who want to watch it. So have you watched Konosuba?
No. I'm watching the preview of this while we talk, by the way.
Okay. Yeah, I kind of thought that was things you did anyways. So Konosuba is a comedy anime that's kind of, it takes the piss out of the isekai genre.
Okay.
What sets Konosuba apart from a lot of other anime is that all of the main characters are complete assholes.
Okay.
But that's kind of the light novel's authors, like, I guess what sets him apart as well as a light novel author is that he likes writing his characters as assholes, and because of that, you don't mind. I guess it's kind of, I guess, like I'm trying to think of a good way to. Anyways, you get the when the character is an asshole, the pain, any pain they endure feels deserved.
Right.
Now, and there's a certain brand of idiotic assholeness that he also writes. So it's not just that they're assholes; it's that they're idiots as well. So they get themselves in a lot of trouble, and they deserve it.
Okay. So
where Konosuba is specifically a parody, a comedy of isekai. I don't know if there's anything specific that this is riffing on other than just maybe fantasy and sci-fi stories, but it falls into that line of the show itself is, I would say, really funny. It's not hitting the same beats as Konosuba, but I'm not necessarily finding it as funny as Konosuba, but at the same time, Konosuba has the benefit of it being a direct parody of something, so it has a lot more to work off of. Inevitably, it has a lot more to work off of, but it's also a lot more limited. Where I do feel like this one has more room to grow and do its own thing.
I won't say I'm hooked by any of this. Watching the video and stuff. I feel like the premise is kind of weak. The character designs aren't really anything to write home about. Yeah. And it kind of seems like another story. It feels like it does all the kind of normal weird anime shit, but under the guise of well, it's okay because he's meant to be an asshole in a likable way, and bad things happen to him, so he gets his comeuppance. Almost like an excuse to do weird anime shit, which is, I don't know. There's not necessarily, at least these are adults, but I don't know. I get kind of a weird vibe, or I'm sure it's not awful.
Yeah. Well, the point where I wanted more to go is that when you're dealing with the thing, I would say the overarching story of Konosuba is nothing really special either. The author has, his strength is more of the moment to moment gags and goofs.
Yeah, it does seem that's important. I mean, it's obviously a very it doesn't look plot driven.
I could see this easily being one of those stories that never has a resolution. It's just whatever excuse it is to get the characters in trouble.
Yeah, I mean, there's something probably fun about that kind of improvisational writing style.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just like this doesn't appeal to me. The
Yeah.
fact that
No.
like he's this kind of asshole, kind of perv character, and he's with this like character that looks like a little girl. I'm like, I'm
Yeah.
making assumptions here.
Oh, don't worry. She's like a robot, and she can kick his ass.
Yeah,
But
I don't know.
I would say the other side of things too is that um the main characters, like despite their assholeness in Konosuba, are very endearing, and they all have like they all have their characters, they all have their backstory. Like, and I know that I've only seen the first episode of this, but like I would say even with the first like episode, like the very first episode of Konosuba, like the main character and the goddess that he brings to the world with him because he's an asshole, um, like they have like actually like wholesome, endearing moments like in that first episode. Like they actually like get work. They sleep in a barn. Like they build themselves up,
Yeah.
and there are funny moments, and they're assholes to each other, but they're not assholes all the time, and you can tell that they're friends. Where I think the idea of this like being like, oh, this is a job they're doing. This is just one big job.
Hmm.
The main girl character being like an emotionless robot doesn't really give much room. Like now maybe things will change, but like she's just kind of like the one that, like the one there to be like to keep the other guy in line and to help make sure he doesn't screw up. Like
Yeah, it seems like there's probably, if the characters don't have redeeming enough qualities, then like them being assholes is less fun and just makes them unlikable. I mean, who knows?
mhm.
Maybe it turns around a little bit. I'm just saying I'm not really getting much
No,
from the premise. Should we move on to the
yeah,
next thing?
like yeah, yeah. Let me see. I didn't send it over. Let's do this.
I feel like we've
I
covered
was so
that show.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
And it doesn't even have a fucking shamisen, so that's pretty
Mm-hmm.
lame.
Yeah, fucking shamisen. I want to learn to
I
play
only watch
shamisen now.
shamisen anime.
Yep.
Shakunetsu Kabbadi, or Burning Kabbadi. Tatsuya Yoigoshi, a once nationally recognized soccer player, is now a first-year student at Nokin High School. Of course he is. Due to his developed hatred for sports, he's abandoned his previous aspirations to become a famous live streamer on the internet. But one day, Soma Azimichi, a first year on the Kabbadi team, seeks to recruit Yoigoshi and spontaneously interrupts his live stream. Without any expectations, Yoigoshi follows Soma to the school gym, where he witnesses second years Kyohei Misumi and Shinji Date engaged in the primal contact sport of Kabbadi. Despite ridiculing the rules of play, Yoigoshi is stunned by the intensity of the round. Because of an enticing deal and slight coercion, he agrees to settle the prospect of his recruitment through the most invigorating way: a battle of Kabbadi, a team sport played empty-handed. Okay, what is Kabbadi?
It's kind of like tag. So they actually go in the first episode. They go through quite a bit of show like teaching you how to play it and stuff because they're showing it to the main character guy,
Okay,
like
makes
Tetsuya or
sense.
whatever. It's kind of like tag. So what you do is there's like an attacker and there's a defender. Raider and a defender.
Okay.
The raider has to take in a deep breath and he has to keep saying Kabbadi, Kabbadi, Kabbadi over and over again. And he goes across the other side and tries to tag the defender.
Okay.
Now, he can stay over there as long as he keeps saying Kabbadi under one breath, and he has to make it back before before he stops saying Kabbadi. And if he tags the person and makes it back, he gets a point. If the other person stops him from going back after if he doesn't tag the person before he stops saying Kabbadi and he doesn't make it back before he says Kabbadi, then the defender gets the point. So the idea is if you get tagged, you have to tackle the person and prevent them from going back over.
Okay.
So, yeah, it's a very weird sport, but that's kind of the sort of thing I almost want to see in these sports animes. Like, there's so many soccer anime. There's so many basketball anime,
Yeah.
like tennis,
Give Kabbadi
ping pong. It's like,
some attention.
well, it's more like the problem. I would say more so when you have so many anime within sports, you end up having the highlights. Like I can name off the top of my head 2 really good soccer anime.
Yeah.
Um, and a third really good soccer manga. The anime adaptation of that one isn't that great, but I would definitely say like I can think of 3 soccer anime properties that are fantastic. And so when there's another soccer anime this season that I'm not particularly talking about on this episode, like I don't particularly care too much because I've already seen such good soccer anime.
Right.
Like because I'm already
So
comparing
yeah,
those.
let's explore
But
what else is out there, you know? Show us the weird sports. I
so when
it kind of feels like, to me it feels like a genre like pushed to its extreme. It's like they're really like
oh yeah,
scraping for
definitely.
everything that they can get.
I mean, if we're talking about just basketball, like we already have like Slam Dunk and Kuroko no's Basket. Why would you put yourself in a place to compare those two? Like if you don't have something special you're trying to say.
I think it's a making
Um,
a show about Kabbadi fine. I think my brain just turned off when I read the word like first year student at blank high school. I
yeah.
just,
Well,
I know that I
okay.
feel like we probably talk about
That's the
this a
problem
lot,
you're gonna get.
but like
I
why
know.
is all
I mean,
anime
that's a
about only this particular range of life, you know? Like the older I get, the more
well,
I'm like I don't even
well,
identify with
you
high
you say
schoolers.
well, yes. Part of it's a bit of a culture shock as well because a lot of people when they get out of high school, it's college and work for the rest of their life. High school is kind of like the highlight of a lot of like Japanese people's lives. That's when the most interesting parts of their lives necessarily happen. Um, and that's a lot of the time where Japanese people look back into with fond remembrance. That's
That's
like
depressing.
where I yeah, it is very depressing, but that's also very telling of why um so much anime is like why you see so few anime focused on college and adulthood in anime.
Right, it's like
Like
the strong emotions and the self-discovery it was in high school. I just feel
yes,
like
there
just
like
because for me it's like, I mean, obviously high school was important and I changed a lot, but like a lot of what I consider most important about myself now are things that worked on, developed out past that point. I mean, high school was a long time ago for me. I finished high school in 2014 and like it's
yeah.
2021. Like the idea that like I'm not con- that like all the interesting growth was in that particular period of
Well,
time. It's like that sucks, dude.
well, the other thing, the other thing too, also is that Japan also has a very strong club and like high school sports
That's true. That's
culture.
something you
Like
really see in
so,
like, yeah, I didn't associate high school so much with like finding a passion and jumping on it in that way.
it's like like and like even like over like here like I would say like in America it's like a lot of the time like when you're dealing with stories that take place in school it's either very club or sports
Yeah.
orientated or the sport or the club like maybe isn't the main focus but it's always a presence in the story.
But I mean like you can
um
get a new hobby outside of high school. Like
I would actually I would actually
it's
say
less universal of
even
an
like with
experience, but
I mean, over here, think about like just how many stories are about like prom and high school dances. Like for a lot of people, those are like the most important parts of their high school careers.
I just like
Like,
I'm so like past that point in my life. Like I don't, it's not even like
I was
it's nostalgic if I try maybe, but like it's not like the natural thing I look back to with reverence. It's like
mm,
it's I kind of get what people liked about high school, but like it
um,
the grand
um,
like romanticizing of high school over society I think is a bit weird. I mean, like a lot of
um,
people have had a shit time in high school, you know? Like
yeah,
a lot of people high
I
school
would
is like the
definitely say
worst
that.
years of their lives. Like why is that
Yeah,
not reflected in
uh,
media more?
yeah. I mean, to be fair, that stuff is reflected in Japanese media. Like, you do have your more like drama, kind of fucked up stories about high school as well in anime. I would say the other big thing too, and this is why I think part of the reason why I see a lot of stories where people are in their teens is that's typically like I would say teens and even like to extension like college is that's typically the time of self reflection. Like what people like like you're finding your identity as a person.
I guess, but
Like
like there's
I
there's more. I guess that is a good thing to write a story about, but like people develop in different kinds of ways later and in new ways, and
Mhm.
um, I don't know. I think that's interesting too.
Yeah, but I think that's just sort of the cultural difference because I think like just at least within Japan, there's just more you can do with a story in high school and middle school as opposed to when people are basically job
But
slaves
like
for the rest of their
consider
lives.
that you know, it's crazy how that kind of thing is still I mean, in anime, you can do anything. You can be on another planet. The world can be obsessed with a card game. You can, like,
Well, and there's a lot of
it's crazy
there's
how the
still
whole like isekai concept is like, well, time to do a do over and go back to when I was like in that youthful period, as opposed to like, I don't know, what if I was the same as I am now, but I didn't have to work at Best Buy? I don't,
I mean like
I don't know.
I mean I do I mean to say that you still have shows like where you have people who are like in certain professions or a lot of times you'll have like mech shows or whatnot or detective shows. Like there's still
I know that they exist. I just feel
there's still,
like
but
when we do these episodes of like let's look at all the new anime in the season,
I know.
it like so much of it is high school or 18-year-olds or whatever. And like I got nothing wrong with high school or 18-year-olds, but like I don't know, it gets exhausting. I mean, there's like we're only like halfway through all the shows we're meant to talk about today. I've like got it stuck on this rant instead. I don't know.
I mean about half the shows we talked about were about people who aren't high schoolers.
I guess I just don't like this kind
We
of
also need
admission that like, well, or it feels like giving up to be like, well, I mean, life sucks after high school, so like let's just
well
like
I don't
put that time on a pedestal
I
forever.
yeah um yeah but the only other thing I wanted to like say is that like I also just felt like this was a well like a well like a well produced like sports like going off to
I'm
that
sure Kabbadi is a good
conversation like
show. I like
yeah no it's good I liked how like because there's I will say there's a bit of a problematic subculture within like club shows in Japan. I don't know if how reflective that is in reality of like basically forcing someone to join a club based off of like bets or whatever.
mm,
Um, but I would say at least for Kabbadi, like yes, it does that, but the main character is such an asshole and is such like he's such he's such a narcissistic asshole. I with and the that like it almost ends up feeling like he's the bad guy um who had his comeuppance.
right.
Like I guess it's the same sort of thing like with the Konosuba sort of stuff. It's like if this was just like normal Joe who's good at sports, but he's like yo I don't like sports anymore. Please just like don't like leave me alone with this stuff. Like I nothing against you. I've got this thing against sports right now. I would feel bad for him being forced to join a club that he didn't want to
Right,
join.
but
But
instead you want to see him humbled because he's a douche about it.
yeah, pretty much, yeah.
Let's
And like especially because during the whole time, like he's seeing himself as he's like, oh, I'm like, of course I'm gonna win this. I'm better than these. I'm like, it's like, oh, I've got this big plan, and then like when he has like his come up, like when he has like his Seto Kaiba moment, it's hilarious. Like, it's like it feels deserved.
yeah.
It's like you grabbed my leg. That's impossible.
I uh, I was talking to a friend recently about how impossible is not an exclamation that happens very much in real life. And I kind of want to start saying it more. It's such a tropey line, but like when was the last time like something surprising happened and a friend of yours was like impossible? It doesn't happen. Next show. Um SSSS.Dynazenon. One day, Yomogi Asanaka, a first-year student at Fujioki Kirai High School, runs into a mysterious man named Goma, who claims to be a kaiju user. He uses kaiju? The sudden appearance of a kaiju is followed by the entry of the gigantic robot Dynazenon. In the wrong place at the wrong time are Yume Minami, Kokuyomi Yamanaka, and Chise Asukagawa, who are dragged into the fight against the kaiju. Okay, let's look at the picture. Midriff. That's my impression of this show. Whoa, this robot looks crazy.
So yeah. So I think I talked. I know I did like on one of the previous anime casts. I talked about SSSS Gridman.
Yeah.
This all kind of like. So what was weird with Gridman is that like it was almost like a. So Gridman was I think the Western name for the Westernized name for the SSSS. I could be quoting that wrong. But essentially this kind of I don't think I wouldn't necessarily classify this as a sequel. I would say probably more of a spiritual successor. Mm-hmm. The only thing I wanted to really say is that the first episode just didn't hook me as much as the first as Gridman did. I think Gridman had some really good hooks, some really good mysteries. Yeah, I'll continue watching this. But Gridman was such a trip. But was it perfect? No, but I feel like there was what made Gridman really special was was the mystery, was the mystery box of everything going on and all the information being dropped. This one sort of just kind of feels like Mecha Power Rangers. Like, oh,
right, like just
we go into our Megazord when monsters appear. Oh, this guy can is apparently a kaiju capturer.
It's not visually.
And it was
super,
cool, but
looking at the footage, like the art style and stuff, and like there's nothing remarkable about it. It looks like decently good quality, but like some of these robot designs are kind of ugly. But like,
have you seen Gridman?
I think we talked about it.
I'll send that over just so you can have just so I can show you the comparison. But I feel like everything like
I found the Gridman page.
Yeah, I feel like it's just a lot more striking. Like,
Yeah, the colors are less messy. The colors feel better.
Yeah,
it's
still got a similar characters. But still, it has a very that sort of I would almost say Trigger character design problem where like Trigger has this weird thing where I find a lot of their character designs to be both very unique but also very plain.
Gridman's character designs definitely feel more grounded than the ones in Dynazenon.
Mm-hmm. Well, Gridman felt a lot more grounded than Dynazenon anyways, and Gridman's first episode was even crazier.
Like this bandage midriff top or whatever. Like, what is going on? He's got like sleeves that are the same color that on this he has a pink chain. I don't know. I'm not feeling really anything about the show.
I will say it does have it does have, at least from the first episode, has some of that hinting towards that psychological character drama that Gridman, because what made Gridman very compelling wasn't even necessarily the kaiju fights. There was a lot of psychological drama.
Oh yeah,
that was going on with the characters outside.
There was some weird mystery stuff going on.
Yeah, and it had it did have that big sort of trigger. It felt massive. Like the story, the individual personal stakes felt massive almost all the time, which is something that Trigger's very good at. And that's just not something I particularly felt in this first episode. Now I'm sort of expecting that to change, but I was kind of disappointed that this episode basically ends with, oh yes, we're just getting pulled the three other characters just get pulled into this mech and have no idea what the fuck's going on, and they fight a monster, and then the episode ends.
You want a first episode to the first episode of a show isn't always the best one. Like I can think of I feel like Cowboy Bebop's first episode isn't as good a hook as its second episode is, but I don't know. I guess when you're sampling a bunch of shows like this, the first episode's going to be especially important, and you're like, eh.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm
Well,
not getting much out of this. Should we move on to the
yeah,
next
yeah.
show?
God, yeah. I just want to say because Gridman started off with what the fuck, and it was pretty much what the fuck all the way through.
Yeah.
Let me copy this
What have we got?
because this is going to spur into a whole conversation we were having similar conversation we were having
Okay.
pre-cast.
Just for the record, I'm starting to. How many more shows are left? I'm like starting to burn out on anime.
I think there's 2 episodes. This one and one more.
Okay, all right. Light at the end of the tunnel. All right. The World Ends With You, the animation. Neku Sakuraba, a 15-year-old boy with a hobby for music and graffiti, wakes up in what seems to be the Shibuya shopping district of Tokyo, Japan. With no idea why he's there, he opens his hand to realize he is holding a strange black pen. After flipping it with his hand, the thoughts of the people surrounding him begins to flow into his head at once. Surprised, Neku discovers he is able to read the minds of others and assumes it has something to do with the black pen he is holding. A cell phone starts to ring in his pocket, and he can't tell whether it is his or not. A text message appears. Reach 104. You have 60 minutes. Fail and face erasure. The Reapers. After discovering he can't delete the message, a timer of 60 minutes imprints onto his right hand. Neku is in Shibuya to play the Reapers game, which spans a total of 7 days. All players of the Reapers games have a black pen with a skull embedded on it. That was a very no-nonsense synopsis. Here are the events that happened.
I wonder if yes. Well, I mean, this is a game that's been out for over a decade, so it's like I think we've talked about The World Ends With You a bit on cast before.
This is the most I've ever known about The World Ends With You. All I really knew about is that it had this character with headphones with skinny arms.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, obviously, like the way that World Ends With You plays out, like you can't really talk too much about it without it being like going into spoiler territory.
Sure. No, it does seem like it has a pretty mysterious premise.
Yeah. Well, because I mean, part of it is like the mystery, is like solving. I mean, Neku wakes up with amnesia.
Yeah.
And so part of the story is him figuring out what's going on. Like he's thrown into this game that he signed up for that he doesn't have any memory that he signed up for. So he's both learning about the game, learning the truths about the game, and learning about himself and why he is in the situation that he is in, all within the course of this game.
Okay.
So I will try to keep this quick because this does go into the larger conversation of game adaptations. Now, unlike something like Ace Attorney, where Ace Attorney is like a full because I think we've talked about the Ace Attorney adaptation on a Let's Play before.
Yes.
Ace Attorney is a full visual novel, like it's constant story. The World Ends With You is sometimes visual novel, sometimes you're running around a city solving puzzles, defeating monsters, etc. Now, on the one hand, with The World Ends With You, because because the story segments themselves aren't necessarily that long all the time, they don't have to cut out that much material from the story, so it never feels like you're missing any of the story context. But have you ever played a video game through and then you just went back and watched the cutscenes for that game?
Yeah.
That's kind of what it feels like. It feels like you're just jumping around story point. Like you're jumping from cutscene 1, cutscene 2, cutscene 3. And then you'll sometimes have like battles, like story important battles. But I feel like I'll say this, if you're someone who is never going to play the game and don't want to waste your time watching someone play through the entire game, the anime is entirely serviceable. The story is great. You're not going to miss much of anything. But if it's going to bother you that the pacing's going to feel a bit jarring, it's going to be jumping from like cutscene to cutscene to cutscene, you're not going to have that. Like one of the things about games is that there's the stories are paced around the fact that you're going to be having dead time between cutscenes.
Yes, right. So if you just cut out the gameplay, it's there's way less downtime, at least in terms of like developments. Yeah, I'm pretty disappointed to hear. I think I would just play the game.
Yeah, I kind of figured that was going to be the case anyways. I was really hoping they were going to try to do something different, especially because there was apparently this is supposed to tie in with the sequel that's coming out later this year.
Okay.
But I'll stick around just because I really like The World Ends with You a lot. It's one of my favorite
Oh, sure.
games.
No, I mean, even I would watch the shit out of even a bad adaptation of something I loved.
Yeah,
Just to
and
see like the
it's
differences and
really
stuff.
and I will say it's really cool being able to see like especially because they capture the aesthetic very well for the most part.
Yeah, because that game
Like
is quite a distinct
they
art style, and it looks like it
yeah
somewhat survived the jump.
yeah yep it really does look like if this was made in anime. Now I will say, granted, the CG monsters are awful. Like they're like they're I mean they're better than things that like have happened like CG 5 years ago, but I really feel like that they should have stuck with because the game is almost like this kind of you have like this 2D pop art style to
Yeah.
it. I think have like it would have actually been cooler if the like where as I say like where I'd say Godzilla singular point the monster being CJ really worked because it added to an eeriness. I think
Here it's just out
if
of
they kept the
place.
monsters 2D, I'd actually say they could have even gotten away with making the monsters have a lower frame rate than the players. Well, than the main characters, and it could have added its own sense of like otherworldliness rather than having a higher frame rate.
Yeah, well, that's often a way you can make something have a certain sense of weight. Um,
Mhm.
that's yeah. I'll say
Um,
I just watched a little teaser with
um,
the sound off, and
yeah,
it does look pretty faithful, like pretty faithful. Not all the way. I think the
yeah,
game's a little more stylized, but like I think it's a good
yeah, that,
compromise. Like it does still,
yeah,
especially with like the thick line work, and
mhm,
although I can see some 3D, it looks pretty like I will sometimes use on
yeah,
characters too, but I think the pop art style makes it blend in better. So
yeah,
it looks
yeah.
alright. But I feel like the world ends with you is seems like the kind of thing you had to be there for, or like you should go play the game. Um,
Yeah,
I might play it someday,
yeah,
but
yeah. There's a certain atmosphere and tone in the game that just doesn't translate over to the anime. Like I would even say like one of the biggest like this might sound like a small detail, but it's actually something that really disappointed me.
yeah,
When I was watching anime is the game starts off and like throughout the game like when Neku's like waking up at certain points, um, it plays the stopwalk tune on like that on like in Shibuya like that's like supposed to like be the sound that signifies that you can cross the street.
yeah.
It plays that in the game, and it almost it because of the way that everything's portrayed. It's almost kind of creepy or unsettling. The sound they don't even include that sound in the
I don't
anime
think that's
like
a
that.
weird
Like
thing
you
to get
don't
caught up on
like.
because like that's was an important part of the atmosphere. Like I think often small things are big things if that makes any sense. Um,
Yeah,
because yeah, I mean the atmosphere of whatever you're watching is made up of lots of small decisions in aggregate.
hmm
All right, so you're sending me the next thing.
yep.
The
The
final
final one
thing,
actually.
Tokyo Revengers. Okay, I like that title because it's not real. Everyone in the show has the same outfit. Okay. Takemichi Hanagaki's life is at an all-time low. Just when he thought it couldn't get worse, he finds out that Hinata Tachibana, his ex-girlfriend, was murdered by the Tokyo Manji Gang, a group of vicious criminals that has been disturbing society's peace for quite some time. Wondering where it all went wrong, Takemichi suddenly finds himself traveling through time, ending up 12 years in the past when he was still in a relationship with Hinata. Realizing he has a chance to save her, Takemichi resolves to infiltrate the Tokyo Manji gang and climb the ranks in order to rewrite the future and save Hinata from her tragic fate. Oh my god. That's fucking.
This is fucking ballers. So my first impression going into like just like the concept is it feels a lot like Erased or Bokudaki ga Inimachi
Yeah.
in the sense of oh you have main character who um like ends up killed, goes back ends up being sent back in time to when he was in middle school and has to solve the mystery and change fate. But where I think this one really works in on two fronts. one, um, it's not a mystery. He already knows he already knows that the gang is doing. He has a set goal. So it can maintain being a thriller. Erased really one of the things that struggled a lot with Erased is it was trying to both balance being a mystery and a thriller story, but the mystery failed, which made because it focused so hard on the mystery, the thriller side of it never really had time to breathe. I guess it'd be like if like Death Note if you're doing it from L's perspective and it was so fucking obvious that it was Light the entire time. Like L's trying to figure out who Kira is. He's pretty like Light's in the story and it's very obvious it's Light, but he's just not sure that it's Light. There's other people that think it could be. Oh, I guess it's not Light. But with this, no, it's like there is no real mystery. I mean, I guess there's a bit of a mystery of who killed him at the beginning because it shows that it shows someone pushing him off the train tracks in front of the train. But that never really is the focus at all. Like he doesn't even I don't even think he realizes somebody pushes him or whatever. He doesn't really mention or think about, oh, it's because someone pushed me. Maybe he just thinks that I think he just thinks he was shoved because it just shows a hand pushing him. So he might have thought he was just accidentally shoved. But the second thing, and this is really crucial. Yeah. The end of the first episode has him go back to the future after he changes one thing of history.
Oh, so we can see how the butterfly effect so far.
Yep. Now I don't know if I don't know if it's gonna have him go back in time for a longer period of time. I would expect the show to do that, but I really do think having him go back to the future and see some sort of change and actually be able to process this, talk with the person whose history he changed, and I feel like it really feels like just Erased, but it's a thriller instead of a mystery. And I find all the characters really likable. It's really funny watching the main character who's kind of like this puny ass like deadbeat guy who didn't go to college, who's living in a rundown apartment, go back in time to be a punk ass kid.
Yeah.
Like in the body of him being a punk ass kid with his mind being of being the deadbeat, wasted his life, regrets everything.
Right, he's getting a chance to step out and act up a bit. I think the fun and there's the intriguing aspect to me is that he is he's gonna have to build some kind of camaraderie with these other kids or teenagers or whoever, knowing that one of them kills his ex-girlfriend in the future, and because there's no way that he'd be able to join that group without ending up with a sense of everyone's humanity and everyone involved. And so I feel like his motives are gonna get more confused.
Yeah.
Especially if he likes being a fucking douchebag gang member when his life before was boring and depressing. Mm-hmm. What if he gets something out of it? I don't know. I feel like there's a lot of interesting questions there.
Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely. I'm actually think it's fitting that this is the last one that's on the list. This is definitely the show this season that intrigues me the most and I'm the most excited to see more of.
It's a really kind of bleak premise.
First off, yeah. Well, but it's got a good heart too. There's a moment where right after he goes back, he's with his middle school friends in the cafe. He's trying to, memories are coming back to him. I mean, it's been over a decade, so he's remembering things, and then he's hearing his friends being oh yeah, we're gonna get in a fight with the second years and stuff, and then he's oh shit, I haven't been in a fight in over a decade.
Right.
Oh god, what am I gonna do? And then as he's getting there, he's laying there, he's oh shit, we get beat the fuck up by a bunch of third year punks. And they make us our bitch for the next few years. Oh god. What have I done? Why didn't I remember faster?
It's pretty funny. I think this is an interesting premise. I am a little. The thing is, when we look at 10 shows in a row, I start getting a bit fatigued. Especially because anime is
definitely.
I feel like every time we talk about this,
fatiguing.
I go through the phases of anime is very tropey and it's very sexually weird, but that doesn't mean there isn't a bunch of cool stuff in there. So
Yeah. Well,
I hope
it's
the show continues
well,
to be good.
I think part of this also is you have to remember just how culturally different Japan is. Like, well, yes, there's been a lot of Western influence on stuff. Like their whole view on sexual content is so much different than ours.
Yeah.
Um, like there's a lot of stuff that we find weird and gross that's just completely normal to them, and and if you want to get into like full like moral conversations, it's like we from our cultural perspective, yeah, we see all these problematic things. But like for example, like in Japan, it's just completely normal to like for a bunch of like people of the same gender to be in a bathroom naked with each other. Like there's not the same level of like body shame within the same gender.
That
It's like over like in America, like you'd be hard pressed to find people who are comfortable
yeah.
like
No, I
being
mean
that naked
I'm not
around
gonna
people.
say that Western culture doesn't have its own hang-ups and its own weird
Well,
stuff. Um
it's less about hangups. I think it's more um like I I think yeah you when you're watching anime and for whatever reason. So for me, like I like Japanese storytelling
yeah.
and stuff. But yes, this sexual like those sorts of like weird sexual content does bother me because of like, my cultural upbringing and whatnot. Like I won't lie when I see like things like I would even say for example like when I see like young girl looking character with middle aged old man, it's like it kind of puts me off. I mean, for Pete's sake, there was one show that I just completely skipped this season because it was like it was like a romance story between like an adult man and a high school girl.
Right.
Which, on one hand, I can say I have seen one anime like do that topic very well, but it also wasn't really a full romance story. It was straight from the get go. The girl is interested in the old man. The old man isn't interested in her.
I think it's just like
Like
I don't mind if a show is about something like this. I just don't trust anime as a medium for the most part to like handle these things with much like I don't know, deftness. Like I think the thing about anime in regards to sex is that like it feels like it's under that same adolescent lens as everything else. Um or like as like the settings that they're in and stuff. But like there's something uncomfortable about that being created by adults as well. Like
yeah.
I don't know, like
Well,
especially
yeah,
like
well, I mean,
this is I maybe this is unfair to say, but I feel like the way anime treats sex is more uncomfortable if you have some sexual experience. It feels like a really weird um I don't know how to put this properly.
I know you're saying all this stuff, but at the same time, it's like I I I I end up feeling like a lot of the sexual content in anime weirds me out a lot less than stuff like Netflix, like Netflix original that just like throws sex on the screen for no good reason. Like, and then it's far more graphic about it.
I don't have a problem with
Like,
it like it's usually about like what's weird is I mean this is a huge conversation. It could be an entire podcast topic, but like
yeah,
it's especially weird with characters who are really young. Well, like it's like I don't think sexual content in itself is bad at all. I think there's a lot of hangups about sexuality and like what I don't like is how normal it is in anime for characters to grope each other or to sexually harass each other and stuff like that. And like how the story frames it as like just kind of a comical thing that happens when like people have to
yeah,
live with that reality every day and it's not fun for them or goofy or like a bit of playfulness. It's like I'm
yeah.
being touched or yeah, like it's that stuff is
I mean,
what's like if a character has like a skimpy outfit like I mean, I don't know. Representations of characters is weird too, but that's a slightly different topic. But like, there's so many
yeah,
weird kind of things, sexual elements in anime that turn me
no, but
off in aggregate.
yeah, but I do feel like a lot of these like worst case examples is more of the bottom of the barrel, um, like because I yeah, I mean even for me like I specifically avoid a lot of like the ecchi, more like sexual comedies and whatnot,
Mm.
um, like I'm even just like talking off the top of my head. The only show like that from this season that we talked about that I can even remotely had anything similar to that was the uh was the one about like
The bully
the
girl,
bully
yeah.
teasing one, which was very where the content was very specifically sexually teasing another person. It wasn't like, oh, lol, accidentally grabbed the boob. I think like in the past few years, anime has gotten a lot better at not just throwing in random sexual comedy. Like I would say 5 years ago, there was a lot of anime I was watching 5 years ago where accidental boob grab, accidental this, but those really tend to be more in the rom com side of things. Um, and you'll sometimes see that like within shonen stuff, but I feel like at least within shonen, the sexual content is a bit more creative. I'm thinking of Naruto with Sexy Jitsu.
Yeah, well, I mean,
Um,
I don't like I don't have a problem with sexy jutsu. I think that's kind of funny. Like,
yep.
I'm weird. Like, I don't know. I think that works for like the character, and even though he is like a kid, like that's kind of the point. He's being a rascal. I don't know. I
Yeah.
think of like My Hero Academia and
Just,
like that fucking grape guy, um, who fucking touches all the
but
girls
I would even say
and
like,
like
but
ah.
okay. Name like how often after the second season does he actually do anything like that though?
I haven't watched like my memory is a bit like
Like I remember being annoyed by him early on, and yes he's still like an annoying character, but like I really do think in the past 2 years the general consent, like the general like view of that sort of sexual humor has sort of shifted.
I mean, I hope
I
you're
think
right. Like that
especially
sounds
as
great.
I think especially as the anime industry has been more aware of the international audience, um, and as the audiences have broadened, like the reason why a lot of that sexual content was what it was is because the primary audience for anime was pubescent teenage boys,
Yeah.
like teenage boys going through puberty. That's not really the case so much anymore. Like I'd even say like even like early anime, like very early anime, you didn't have as much of that stuff. I mean, for fuck's sake, most early anime was mecha anime, which involved
Sexy
adults
robots.
piloting mechs. Yeah, adults. Yeah, and you had your comedy, like you had your other like comedies and sports and stuff, but like I think there's a sweet period like in the early 2000s to like 2015 that really had a lot of that sexual jokes. And
Yeah,
now
I
like
mean,
these days I'm really hard
like what immediately
like
comes to
I'm
mind is Seven Deadly Sins, where it is constant.
yeah.
It's
No,
constant,
but
but
no,
that is it's from a while ago,
very
you know.
but like Seven Deadly Sins, like I think even though it's like still like ongoing, it's not really a show that people like take seriously as one that it's not really a well respected show within the anime community. Like
It's not maligned either,
I think in a
though.
lot of ways yeah, it's not maligned, but like it's not really like
Look, I mean, like it's easy
it's
for me
got
to make
I don't
big
know.
sweeping statements about a genre that you have a lot more
I would say
experience than
a
me
lot of the
with.
I would say a lot of the people that like for me I haven't watched Seven Deadly Sins. It doesn't interest me. But for a lot of the people that I know that like Seven Deadly Sins, they aren't your average anime watcher.
Who are they?
Um, uh, Usually your pubescent teenage boys
Hmm.
that only like watching sexy anime stuff, who haven't watched a lot of good anime. For fuck's sake, my though I will say I think my brother's girlfriend was watching Seven Deadly Sins. I know. I don't think she said it. I don't think she said she thought it was good, but she was enjoying it. So maybe it's more for a female audience. I don't know.
I mean, it's funny. Like I met a girl who likes that show too, like semi recently, and I'm like, I don't like the amount of like just casual like unacceptable behavior in the show you just have to like let wash over you to like enjoy the story is like immense.
Maybe there's just more sexual harassment between girls than we realize, and we just don't realize
I
it.
think that girls are sexually harassed so often that like it's pretty normalized to them. I've definitely talked to girls who will casually recount experiences. I'm like, that's terrible. Or it's like, oh yeah,
Yeah.
like I was on the dance floor with him and he like bit my neck. I was like, what? And she's like, hey, he
What?
wasn't like such a bad guy. I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like you, I don't know.
Yeah, maybe
The standards are so
you being
low.
uncomfortable is just your male. Maybe your perspective. This is just your perspective of a male being told that this behavior towards women is not acceptable, or women haven't had to be told that this behavior towards women is unacceptable because they're the ones having that behavior done towards.
I sorry, what?
I don't know. I lost myself there.
Okay.
I lost myself there too. No, but I, 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 like in general, outside of like I would say maybe like specifically like rom coms, etchy coms, and whatnot, like that sexual harassment stuff like in anime is not something I've particularly noticed as much, and I would say think especially um even as I recollect, a lot of that sexual harassment was towards love interest or characters that the main character were supposed to have as waifus.
I
Like,
mean,
it's not just like
I guess that's a
it's not like it was
step.
just like any. No. This is not. I'm not talking about a step. I am talking about like kind of going more into that
The kind of genre situations you
airing
see
towards that.
these writing choices.
Yeah. So, um, and that sort of anime was a lot more prevalent 5 years ago. You had a lot more of that single male protagonist, light novel sort of guy who was had a harem of girls around him, and um, crazy. And despite no matter what the genre was, no matter if it was like a battle anime or if it was like a some sort of like game anime or intelligent thing or whatever, like it was all about the power fantasy of overpowered main guy with bunch of waifus, and those waifus had sexual hijinks because it was exciting for the audience.
Yeah, yeah. I guess it's like
And the people that would be,
I feel like
and I was just gonna,
I mean I know you're saying things have changed a little bit, which is excellent. Um, but I guess my thoughts on that are one, I wish there was more animated content aimed at a higher age group. Um, because I still love animation and cartoons and characters and special powers and shit, but I also relate to different things. Different things resonate with me now. Like I wish there was more for me or for someone a bit older than me,
yeah.
like without it being something super dark or super depressing. It's like, can there just be a show that's like animated for, and I think in like Western cartoons, there's a lot more of that. Um, but less so in anime. And the other thing is that I wish, even though like even though I can understand if a show is meant to be kind of exciting for someone like discovering their sexuality for the first time and stuff, I wish they could do it in a way that was less problematic. I think you can still cover these these subjects of sexuality and discovery and like, oh, girls and all of that, but I wish there was a way to do it that was less like fuck boyish, if that makes any sense, and that
No, I
recognize girls'
definitely.
humanity a bit more. Um, like there's so much weird gender expectations. I don't know. It's weird. I think they could do better. Because again, I'm not just like
Well, I
a
think
prude or something.
oh, but and I think like we're in that transitionary like
Yeah,
period. Like I would say there's like the past. I mean, I can look at the the previous season stuff. But I do feel like there's been more anime, like targeted for more adult audiences. I mean, I would say something like Fumetsu, like Anate, like that's like, I mean, I feel like that's like a bit of a universal sort of feeling, but like, I mean, that's not something that I think, oh, like this is necessarily a story about a high school kid doing stuff. Though granted, that's like not necessarily, that's like, it's real, it's gritty in its own sort of way without like necessarily being about adults. I guess Tokyo Revengers, while yes has half like part of the story is kid in middle school, it's from the mindset of an adult trying to fix his past.
I just like for me, adulthood isn't necessarily gritty. I mean, there is grittiness in adulthood, but like
Yeah,
it's
no.
like the
Well,
idea. It's not like I want shows that are more boring and and like more depressing or something. Like I just want things that appeal
I mean,
to
even like
adults
in
and
the,
are less about the very specific experience of coming of age.
I mean, even like like the past few years, there like there is like I can think of off the top of my head there is fuck I forget what it's called, but there was a show about like adults playing MMOs and falling in love.
That sounds
There was
nice.
a show. There's Wodakoi, which is a workplace rom com.
Mhm.
Season 2 of Megalobox airs this like is airing this season. Megalobox boxing adults.
I did see
Um,
I think I saw a few episodes of that and still it did feel like a bit of a show for young boys even though it had adults in it, but um oh, I mean like
the
I
the,
I should look
yeah,
into more stuff. I don't actually watch a lot of anime
yeah.
these days and a lot of my exposure to it is like you telling me what you're watching and like from the premise I'll be like
Well,
that
I
sounds
was
whack. Um
yeah. But I was just saying specifically like Megalobox 2 like is like takes place a bit more in the future and like the main character like Joe like is clearly aged up quite a
okay.
bit.
Well that sounds
So
interesting.
like
I
he's
actually do like
it's like I
I'm
think
really interested in like kind of aging uh champions as like a concept. I mean,
yeah
like after
yeah
this, like we're gonna have to wrap this up soon so I can go watch the UFC. Where like you
yeah
watch like uh these people who are like go from like young rising stars to like veterans, and then like their body's starting to give up on them a little bit, but and they're kind of still in it,
yeah
and like I don't know. There's a lot of like I find that whole like what next or how much time do I have to be really fascinating.
yeah.
Um,
Joe is Joe is rocking a pretty manly beard and the poster.
sounds cool.
There's a show Mars Red this season which is about like government officers like versus vampires.
Fuck yeah, I do like vampires.
Like oh like in a like I think like in a 19 like 50s or before like somewhere between 1900 and 1950s era Japan.
Hmm.
Um, there's a show called Jorah and the Princess of Snow, which is kind of like a transform like it's a transforming like animal assassin show, but like it's like featuring it's no
I love
it's
that
okay. I
descriptor.
don't know how I don't know it's a weird but it features adults going on like assassination missions about like basically like furries are evil and they assassinate people trying to create furries
And this is
and
being frozen in a
character is
landfill.
also and the main character is a furry who's going around killing like who has to assassinate furries.
I'm sold.
Well, that was an
Thanks for
episode.
watching your show. Ah, wow.
God, I think that was the most efficient way we've gone like most efficient go through anime we've